So last time we saw that the Hachamim forbade a person having a haircut on Chol HaMoed, so that a person doesn't postpone his haircut to Chol HaMoed, and he'll end up coming to Yom Tov not looking good, not looking disheveled, because he's postponed his haircut till after Yom Tov, to the Chol HaMoed. The question is, we need to discuss, is what about nowadays, where people have haircuts far more regularly, and specifically with regards to shaving, people who shave every day. Now, the Rishonim already discussed this question. The question discussed was, if a person had a haircut just before Yom Tov, would he be allowed to have another haircut on Yom Tov itself? And one of the Rishonim, Rabbeinu Tam, allowed it. He said the whole reason is that the Hachamim said not to have haircut in Yom Tov, is that you don't come disheveled into the Yom Tov, postponing your haircut till after to Chol HaMoed. But if I had one before Yom Tov, there's no reason for to say that you can't do so on Yom Tov itself, on Chol HaMoed itself again. And the whole Gezerah of the Hachamim doesn't apply in such a case. However, the majority of the Rishonim disagreed with this, and indeed the Shulchan Aruch rules as such, and he says very clearly that it's forbidden to have a haircut on Chol HaMoed, even if a person had a haircut on Erev Yom Tov. And the reason for this, the Rishonim writes, is because people won't know that you had a haircut before Yom Tov. They'll see you having a haircut on Chol HaMoed, and because of this, in all circumstances, even if a person had a haircut before Yom Tov, it's still forbidden to have a haircut on Chol HaMoed. However, that's reasonable, that makes sense in those days, where people didn't have haircuts as regularly as we do, and certainly shave, people who shave every day or every second day, as we do nowadays. And there are strong grounds to say that nowadays, a person who shaved before Yom Tov and wants to shave on Chol HaMoed to look good for the second part of the Moed is allowed to do so. And there's a number of reasons for this. Firstly, the whole reason the Hachamim said that you don't have a haircut on the Moed is so that you don't push it off to the Moed and you'll end up coming into the first part of Yom Tov looking disheveled. But if the whole purpose, if a person did so and he came into the Moed looking good, and now he wants to do it again to look good for the second part of the Moed, on the contrary, you could argue very strongly to say the Hachamim wanted you to look good for the Yom Tov, and nowadays this is what I do every day, and now every day I go to work and I shave before, or every second day I do so, and now I'm coming into the second part of Yom Tov, I don't look as good as I usually do. Secondly, the Mishnah says that there are certain things which you're allowed to do. We're going to talk about laundry. Whether you're allowed to do laundry on the Moed, what's certainly allowed to do is things which regularly get dirty. So the Mishnah says, mitbehot hayadayim, hand towels. You're allowed to wash these freely on Chol HaMoed. The reason being is because these are things which are used daily, used regularly. And so because they're used regularly, we're not going to say don't do it on the Moed, so you don't push off your laundry to Chol HaMoed, because these are the things which are done daily. Also children's stuff, these are things which are washed regularly, and therefore you're allowed to. So on the same rationale, one could argue that so too, this is something which some people nowadays do daily or regularly. And therefore, so too, if a person shaved, he had his haircut before Yom Tov, he should be able to do so again on Chol HaMoed. But Moshe Feinstein already discussed this quite some time ago, already about 50, 60 years ago. And he was of the opinion that there are grounds to allow it. And this was, in those days when I would argue that now it's wasn't as common as nowadays when people shave every day. And other poskim as well, Chaim David Halevi, of the Chief Rabbi of Tel Aviv, he allowed it on this same reasoning. And of course, there are many who say that no, that Hachamim made a gezerah, and they said it's forbidden to shave on Chol HaMoed, and that applies in all circumstances. Even if I did so, and even nowadays, the Shulchan Aruch writes that you can't have a haircut on Chol HaMoed, even if I had a haircut before the Yom Tov. But as we've explained, there are grounds to allow it. Even Chacham Ovadia, he writes that you can't object to those who are lenient, meaning there are grounds to be lenient. He says, Yireh Shamayim Yahmir, a person who wants to be strict should be strict, but he does say that there are grounds to be lenient. And therefore, really, something like this, it depends on a person's intentions and depends on how they feel. If they're going to come into the second part of the Chag not feeling as good about themselves as they usually do because they feel this is something which I don't normally have on me and it's bothering me, then I think there's very strong grounds to say a person would be allowed to shave on Chol Hamoed provided they did so before the Moed. But if a person, it's absolutely okay for him and he feels as good and looks as good as he usually does and doesn't really mind, then perhaps a person should postpone it till after the Moed. So, in short, what we've seen is different views with regards to nowadays whether a person is allowed to shave on Chol Hamoed. Even those who would be lenient would only be lenient when a person did so before the Moed. Then there are grounds to say that on the Moed itself, a person can cut their hair or shave again if they feel that it's going to improve their Simchat HaChag and improve their feeling about the Yom.